Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. For this episode, it's going to be a very personal one, which is going to include some of my journey through the kink world. Enjoy. Hello, sensual being. I hope your day has been magical already. Welcome to this bit more adult episode today. Just to warn you, I'm going to be talking about kink, some of my experience with changing from being a bottom to a top, or if you want to call it, from being submissive to more dominant. So in my life, this is interesting because I have been submissive all of my life. Only in the bedroom, I run my own business. I'm not submissive in the fact of I just bow down to anybody. God, no. But sexually, I've always been very submissive. Now, if you're someone who doesn't know a lot about kink, you're gonna get your world opened up a little bit now. If you're someone who does know about kink, you might be quite interested. It doesn't matter where you're coming from in your journey, but this is very interesting to me because to say that I've been submissive all of my life, then all of a sudden I'm dominant. I never knew that was in me. I really didn't until now. So just before COVID, it wasn't just before, it was further before than that, because it was when I was stripping, I had times when I actually felt like I was quite dominant. I'd be sort of saying to a guy after we'd been speaking for a while, I was like, right, come on, let's go and have a dance. And then they would go, okay. They could say no if they wanted to, but they said yes. Not all the time, but they said yes. And I'd be like, right, let's go. And I sort of felt this growing in me and like a sexual presence of dominance. And it sort of started to manifest a little bit more. So my partner and I, we'd been together for a few years by then, and I was talking to him. And I said, I don't know. I think I could make quite a good dom. And I just started having this little thing inside me, starting to say, give it a go. But me and my partner, and we're still together now, me and my partner, that wasn't on the agenda for us at all at that time. No, it wasn't. So he actually arranged with a friend of his, lovely guy who I'd met a couple of times, to arrange a bit of a session. So I had a couple of hours with this guy, and he was completely submissive. He was putty in my hands. I could do whatever I wanted. So I did. And afterwards I was like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like I felt so different. Like it was a completely different sexual experience. And I wanted to go down that route further. So I actually ended up having a bit of a relationship, not with him, but with another man. Again, he was a switch, but with me, he was only submissive. And with him, I was only dominant. And the relationship was about probably nearly 6 months. So it was a polyamorous relationship because I was with my partner, Glenn, still am, but also with this guy for like 6 months. And I ended up stopping the relationship just because it was just the time. Anybody who has multiple relationships, I take my hat off to you because I don't know how you do it with the time and the emotions. Oh my God, it's intense. Some people like intense, and I do like intense, but this was just, I felt like I couldn't give enough to any one area of my life, including myself. So something had to change. But that being said, that relationship really opened me up even further in this sense of being dom. Now, it opened up so much that whilst I ended it with this extra relationship, it meant that I was finding it more and more difficult to be submissive. And I felt like that the more spiritual work I was doing, or maybe it was just the older I was getting, the more I was realizing about myself and my life, I was just finding it hard to submit. I was finding anything that I used to enjoy was just too hard. Some of the words that were being used, I couldn't resonate with them anymore. Not enough to keep me turned on. So this started a bit of a process with me and my partner Glenn, and we ended up, I think, do you know what? I think it was around New Year. I can't remember which year, but I think it might have even been 2019 New Year. It may have been around then. That I said to him, I didn't want it to be an ultimatum, but I said, I'm really struggling with this and I really love you. I don't know what to do about it. And he said, use me. And I'm like, what? I can't do that. Oh no. Oh, I can't do, not us. I can't do that. Like, the relationship that we had with him being dominant and me being submissive was so black and white that I couldn't see past it with him. But he said, no, seriously, we put all our cards on the table that night and let's just go for it. Go on. Honestly, I don't think I've ever been that wet. It was a magical evening, but it was very much an evening of firsts, like with both of us together. And it snowballed. And then what happened in March 2020? There was lockdown. So we've never been really that big on like things like Netflix. We used to like watching a film, but we weren't that bothered. So every night during lockdown became date night. And obviously we're exploring this whole new path. And oh my God, did it open up. Ooh. Honestly, our relationship just blossomed, but in a new way. So we've been together 10 years, just over 10 years at the time of doing this. And we are predominantly in what's called a female-led relationship, which means I get to call the shots. It's the reign of Miss Red. Oh yeah. But we are still we've always been equal in our partnership together in our day-to-day, but there's always this underlying tone of there's more. So to come into this now, not only to say I used to be submissive, 100% submissive, I really was, but then to come in to this world, not only to be dominant, but also with my current partner. Now, we do switch back and forth every now and again, but it doesn't happen that often. It just seems to be Miss Red is having her time. She is the queen here. She is the queen. And I love it because I've always loved teasing. So this is why I love pole dance, because it's so provocative. You are just such a tease, and I just love that. So I think this is where it came out more when I was stripping, because it just, I don't know, it allowed me to indulge in the tease. And I was a sort of stripper who I would look at my clients in the eye. I would look at them. I want them to be looking at me. You can get so much connection. And one of the best strip dances that I've ever done, it ended up being like an hour VIP, and we didn't we didn't talk. I just danced for him. Well, I did a 15-minute VIP, and then he went out, got cash, and came back because he wanted to have more time with me. I was like, I can't believe he came back. I was like, yes. As soon as I saw him come in, I was like, right, you and me, let's go. And when I came back down from doing that dance, the girls around were like, oh my gosh, how did it go? How did you get on? What did you talk about? And I was like, what do you mean, what did we talk about? They're like, well, you were up there for all that time, what did you talk about? And I was like, didn't. I just danced. They were like, you danced the entire time. I'm like, yeah. That's all I wanted to do, and that's all he wanted. I was there to dance, to tease. And it's situations like that have really brought out this dominant side to me. It's like a powerful side. And it's not to say that you can't be submissive and strip or lap dance and stuff, because that's also been my background as well, particularly with partners. I love the teasing and the winding up, and it's going to lead to something more. But on the flip side, when you're in control, there's even more tease. Is it going to lead to something? Is it not? You get to decide that. And there's just something different about that. But I just find this story I find is interesting. And after speaking to a few people about it, they said, I'd be really interested to know how you got from being 100% submissive to now dominant most of the time. So that's why I thought I'd share this story, because obviously it's a very personal story, but my stories are here for you to hopefully be impacted by. And this is why I love hearing from you as well, because I love to hear your stories of your life and how you could impact me. So what goes around comes around. So feel free to share your stories with me. I'd love to listen to them. Anyway, I'm going to love and leave you there. Remember to lead through your life with your heart, and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.